Okay, so we're back in the Talawind Ranch Vineyard, and the last two episodes we've talked about the Sauvignon Blanc, and that's what we've looked at. But I thought today we would look at the Pinot Noir. That will be the principal crop on this vineyard, but it's a little bit behind the Sauvignon Blanc, so it wasn't as interesting to show. But now we're at that stage where we're at the bottom portion of the hill. The soil is drained down. It has a little bit more groundwater, so that the vines are doing very well right now. This is a Pommard clone Pinot Noir, and we brought this into the vineyard where it had already been grafted in the nursery. So we picked out what rootstock that we wanted, and the rootstock is a portion that grows below the ground, and then we graft on the type of Pinot Noir that we're interested in. And in this case, for this section, we wanted the Pommard clone because it's one that I really like, and I think it has lots of great growing potential in this particular area. It's not suited for everywhere, but it is good for here. So we now have that. It's now year number 3 here, and so we do have some fruit. And if you were to start to look in here, you will see that the fruit is actually now developing. It's already pushed these little brown caps off from the flowering, and each of these little tiny little BBs, if you will, are going to become a grapevine. Now if you look, I'll open this up a little bit, you can see that there's quite a bit of potential crop here. That's too much really for young vines, but they're precocious. They just want to produce, and it's our job to rein them in. So what we will be doing very soon is we will take off these suckers that are on the bottom, these shoots that just want to grow out from the rootstock. We'll take those off, and we will start to go through here and look at how much grapes we really have on this particular vine, because this vine is going to be different from the next one over, and we will really reduce it because the vines are still very young and we don't want to overwork them. And I'm only looking at getting a little bit of fruit off of this particular block this year. It's just a trial, just to see how it's developing. Is there anything that I think that I need to be aware of, that I would change my farming practices as a result? And you can't really do that if you overburden the vine. So we will be going through soon. We'll drop some of this fruit. We'll pick out, it's probably just going to be one cluster per strong shoot. And as we go from vine to vine, we will make that determination. Some vines will probably have no fruit left on them because the vines just don't seem like they're as far along. And that's just the way nature are. You got different kids and they grow at different rates. The ones that are a little bit slower, we will take all the fruit off, and we will let all the energy go down into the roots and let them get really well developed, and next year they'll give us some fruit. So that's kind of what we will be doing in this particular block of Pinot Noir for the coming couple of weeks. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll look at another section of the Pinot Noir, and I'll show you the difference between this, which was grafted inside the nursery, versus the next section that we will be where we have grafted it here on site, that we brought the rootstock in, planted just the rootstock, and then we grafted it in the vineyard on site. Okay, so now we've just stepped over, believe it or not, just 2 different rows from where we were at with the Pommard block. And this is a different clone that we've picked out. This is 667. But what I wanted to highlight for you is the difference of how this vine was set up in the vineyard versus the Pommard. The Pommard I had mentioned was grafted in the nursery, whereas these vines were not. These vines we actually planted the rootstock first, and we do that, it's a strategy, it's like a chess move. You're not sure what you want to do, and this buys you an extra year. You put the rootstock in, you let it grow for a year and get established, and you start to look at how's the Pommard's doing, or is there anything that we need to know as we start to change this over into a vineyard portion, or into a Pinot Noir portion. So we chose that we wanted to do our second favorite clone, 667, and we grafted that clone onto the rootstock that had been growing for a year. And if you come down and look, you'll see this white tape is where we actually made the graft. So below this is what we call the rootstock, and then above this is the 667 Pinot Noir clone. You'll see that This is has much less canopy than the Pommard that we looked at. You'll see it has much less suckers. It's just in a slower state of development. It's not quite as precocious as the Pommard is right now. So we'll be anxious to see how it's going. You'll see that these tendrils, or they're called, we call them active shoot tips. You see that they've got water, they've got sun, so they're growing out very quickly. We'll put them inside the wire so that they can hold on to it. So everything's looking nice in this portion of the vineyard. It's still a very young stage, but so far we're happy with it, and hopefully we won't need to make any adjustments.